Hello, my brothers and sisters. It's Josh Packard. Hey, wisdom is all about seeking those things which make you whole, right? So, a wise person would do the things that would give them benefit in the world and their children benefit in the world and give them a head start and a leg up over everyone else, right? A wise person would be seeking the things that gender to um, fulfillment, love, and peace in their children's lives, correct? So that's just also love, because wisdom and love, um, it's like love without wisdom is still hate, and wisdom without love is just dumb, right? So today I want to talk a little bit about the things that gender to wholesomeness and why we should pursue them with all of our hearts for the sake of our families and our children and our neighbors and our nation. Is we need to start valuing the things that lead to wholesomeness. I mean, wholesome movies, books, wholesome living. Um, and as Christians, this is something that we should pursue in every aspect of our life for the full blessing of it. So, and I'm like you guys, I like to watch a good shoot 'em up movie, and I like to watch all these Marvel stuff, and I like to do, everything I can. But really, as I'm becoming a father, as I became a father, and as I'm watching things and how my children are sponges, I start to see the value of Andy Griffith's show. I'm starting to see the value of the old time westerns that were just seemed so boring, and they all talked about integrity and honor and virtue and all these things that they pursued with all of their heart, and they lived by that in their life. And these were the men that we used to idolize as heroes, and now they're just squares, you know. But now, even more importantly, they're actually the counterculture. So these men were very, very, very wise, and I mean, it's like the more I listen, like Andy Griffith or these other guys that were, I use him as an example because he's so clearly an example. But you see that they were wholesome in their lives. They were wholesome in their attitudes. They were wholesome in their walk with God. They were wholesome in what they projected, and what they were trying to do was convey to us the value of living a wholesome life. And wisdom is summed up in that, and that we pursue the things that provide wholesomeness to ourselves, to our families, because that's what a wise person does. A very unwise person sows corruption into their family, into their children, into their communities. A very unwise person does these things. So, don't get me wrong, I'm not at all 100% perfect in this in any way, shape, or form, but I see the value of it, and I am seeking to pursue it. I mean, if you followed me around my life, um, you would see there's no alcohol, drugs, there's no other substances, there's nothing. Every now and then I'll succumb to the porn problem every now and then, but not all the time. Um, and my life is really pure. We don't watch TV in my house. I mean, that's my wife and I have both agreed on that. We do watch movies every now and then. We have a projector, and we watch some movies, or we'll watch Animal Planet or whatever we can for the children. But in our house, there's really nothing that is unwholesome. Everything in here, we've got Bibles and books and toys, and everything's educational, and everything's um, clean. You know, we even trying not to even use foul language. I mean, hey, that goes without saying. I'm in construction though. I say shit and fuck. I mean, that's just the way it works. But we're trying to even marginalize that stuff because we're seeing that our children, they're sponges, and so why not restrain anything that could be evil, anything that would be a stumbling block or a snare to them and their development? Why would I even, as a father, why would I try to even introduce that to them? It's hard because so much stuff that I remember as a kid. I looked at all this stuff that my parents told me not to do because they were bad for me, yet they were doing them. And it's like, that's kind of an odd dichotomy that we live with every day, that all of us say is that, well, we don't want to give these to the children because it's bad for them. But when they're an adult, it's fine. It's like, well, it's still the same poison. It's still having the same effect on the people. Why would it, now that you're an adult, be okay? Alcohol is bad. I mean, sure, you can and you have the freedom to drink it every now and then and do whatever you want to do with it. But why would you? I mean, unless it's something that, we all have our battles. But again, I would try to eliminate that 100% if I could. And I did in my life. I don't drink alcohol, but it's easy for me because I don't like it. I was more into like the harder drugs when I was young. As far as, we don't have any more killing movies in the house. We don't have any more violence. Unless the babies are asleep, and we shouldn't even partake of that anymore. And I know it sounds so legalistic, but it's not. This is wisdom. You're pursuing the things that seek wholesomeness. You don't want to teach your children that homosexuality is good, because homosexuality is corruption. You don't want to teach them that stealing is good or eating too much sugar, or you want to train your children to do good things. Well, why wouldn't you train yourself? Anyway, because the more you do it, see, there's a great saying that I heard from a pastor one time, and I'm sure he heard it from somewhere else, but that evil must be restrained in order for good to flourish. And that's why you don't put porn shops next to schools or alcohol, establishments next to schools or things like this. They're zoned far away from them. They can't be within even a certain distance because they want to protect the children and their development so that they are not ensnared by those things early in life. And that's true. We need to get porn off the internet. I mean, it should be, you have to go through a password to get to it. It shouldn't be just easily available. Wisdom would dictate this stuff. Alcohol, we should probably not drink anymore. Smoking cigarettes, all these things, tobacco, even though I did for 25 years. Now without it, I'm better off. I don't want to legislate that to anyone. I don't want to force anyone to stop. I don't think that's the way to do it. But I think once we see the better way, we ought to follow the better way, right? And trust me, by no means am I the perfect example of what I'm preaching here. Just so you know. But I'm assenting to the idea that we should be pursuing wholesomeness and trying to remove any evidence or any appearance of corruption in our lives and in our families. It just makes sense. And so then why would we say that, why would we acknowledge if it's bad for our children, then we should acknowledge that it's bad for us. If it's bad for us, then it should be bad for society. Don't you think? So, I believe I have the freedom to do anything, and I'll not lose my salvation. I could do anything. I could drink alcohol. I could fornicate. I could do whatever I want all the time, and I'm still saved. But during this life, I will bear the consequences of the things that I choose to do. So if I let myself be controlled by alcohol, well, I'm suffering the damnation because of it during my life, you guys. If I'm subject to porn, I'm suffering because of that. If I'm subject to hatred or anger or whatever, I'm damned in that way. It's like the more we mature as adults, the more we grow, the more pure our life should become, if you want evidence of wisdom. But foolishness is manifested in the fact, in the more things that we're addicted to, or the more medications we have to take, or to medicate our conscience, you guys, like alcohol, drugs, excessive exercising, like me, I used to be, or working too hard, or workaholics, or whatever way you're using to medicate or to gain your righteousness. Each one of those things displays your foolishness, puts it on display, you guys. So wisdom is pursuing the things that produce wholesomeness, because This life is all we have here, you guys. Um, we're saved eternally, but between here and there, we have a journey. We're stewards of our families, our communities, our everything, and everything has to come from the position of Christ and His fulfillment of what He's done to produce that fulfillment in us, which is wholesomeness, or if you want another good word for it, holiness. These holy people, you want to be a holy people because He is holy. And a holy person is someone who's satisfied, completely lacking in nothing, just perfect. I don't know about you guys, but I want my wife that way. I want my children that way. I want me that way. I want my community that way because it'll benefit us all. Okay? We can't be attacking like abortion clinics, and we can't be attacking. I mean, they're wrong, trust me, and I'll with my vote, and if I get any opportunity, I'm going to let people know my opinion on that, but I'm not going to go and, cause problems there. I mean, because all you're doing is making them entrench. I mean, there might be some you're plucking out, and by no means, this is just a general statement. If you feel led to do that, then go and do that, but I'm just trying to use that as an example, not to get caught up in these battles that are not, they're in the end, you might get one or two, but what we want to do is exalt Christ so that the whole world might be saved. Okay. So the whole world right now is deceived. The whole world is pursuing corruption because they're worshiping freedom rather than liberty. And freedom without liberty, or liberty without freedom, they're both a cage. And so liberty only can be done by someone whose will is free, but the only way your will can be free is if everything is satisfied. Otherwise, you're subject to your dissatisfaction, always seeking to be holy or to be full. But since you're dissatisfied, you never will be. And you're seeking the things that produce dissatisfaction, you'll never be healed. So let's go down this line. Wholesomeness is a man and a woman and children. That's the utmost life, that there is so far that I've ever experienced. It's not homosexuality. It's not using drugs, even though you have the right to and you have the freedom to do it. But why would you be held underneath the control of it? That's foolishness. Anyway, you guys, we've got to tweak our minds. We've got to see that I'm right here. We need to pursue the things that pursue wholesomeness, not for God's sake, not for getting into heaven or being a good Christian, but for the blessing of wholesomeness, you guys. And so we need to really pursue those things with all of our hearts and forego the things that bring only temporary satisfaction, which gender unto corruption for ourselves and our neighbors. So anyway, I hope you guys know my heart on this. I'm not trying to condemn anyone for anything you're doing. I'm just trying to exalt wisdom here. And then your need to pursue it and my need to pursue it. All right, you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.